Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay,
Yep.
Great. Good evening. My name is Christian Gant, and I'm an Assistant Attorney General with the Maryland Office of the Attorney General's Office. I'm honored to represent Attorney General Anthony Brown in our office as the Community Violence Legal Network brings its vital work to Baltimore with tonight's kickoff of the Legal Power Series. I also serve as one of the leads for the Maryland Equitable Justice Collaborative, MEJC. My other lead is right here, Kirsten Downs. And MEJC is a groundbreaking initiative with over 40 member organizations working to reduce racial disparities in our state's prisons and jails. These disparities are among the worst in the nation. Black Marylanders make up 30% of our population, yet 71% of Maryland's prison population. The connection between MEJC's work and CVLN's mission couldn't be clearer. Both initiatives recognize that true public safety comes from addressing root concerns, not from failed policies of mass incarceration. I want to thank our partners at the Office of the Public Defender and Public Defender Natasha Darteed, who co-chairs MEJC along with Attorney General Brown. Thank you to the University of Baltimore Center for Criminal Justice Reform for hosting us tonight. You have been an invaluable MEJC member and champion for reform here in Baltimore and our state. And most importantly, I want to thank everyone in the room. I want to thank everyone working on the ground in this space. The violence interrupters, the advocates, and the community leaders who do this life-saving work every day. Let me start with what brings us together tonight: the urgent need to protect the programs that actually keep our communities safe. Since January, we've witnessed an unprecedented federal assault on public safety funding, attacks on the very programs proven to reduce safety and save lives. The Trump administration has systematically targeted funding for community violence intervention programs, hospital-based violence intervention initiatives, mental health crisis response teams, victim services and trauma recovery centers, and youth development and mentorship programs. These attacks directly threaten public safety and disproportionately harm the very communities that are already bearing the brunt of this violence. Attorney General Brown has made defending these programs a top priority. Our office has joined or led 35 lawsuits since January, many directly related to protecting public safety funding that supports community-based violence prevention. Just last month, we joined a multi-state lawsuit challenging the Department of Justice's attempt to weaponize Victims of Crime Act grants. VOCA has provided over $1 billion annually since 1984 to help states assist nearly 9 million crime victims a year, funding everything from emergency shelter and medical expenses, to victim advocacy and sexual assault forensic exams. Now, the federal government is trying to force states to choose between supporting crime victims and protecting immigrant communities. In our amicus brief opposing these cuts, we argue that withholding victim services funding doesn't enhance public safety, it undermines it. When victims don't get support, cycles of trauma and retaliation continue. When immigrant communities fear that seeking help will lead to deportation, crimes go unreported and perpetrators remain free. Hundreds of millions in federal community violence intervention funding, including roughly $350 million through CVIPI and for programs right here in Maryland, have been terminated or are at risk. OAG's Federal Accountability Unit, working with a budget of just $1 million annually, has secured the release of hundreds of millions in wrongfully withheld funds, including over $110 million in education funding that supports safe schools and youth programs, $12 million in AmeriCorps funding for community-based interventions, and critical funding for mental health and substance abuse treatment. The numbers tell only part of the story. The administration's attempt to eliminate AmeriCorps, which OAG successfully blocked, would have cut violence interrupters in Baltimore, mentors in Prince George's County, trauma counselors in communities across Maryland. When they froze education funding, which we helped restore through litigation, they undermined after-school programs that keep young people safe during peak violence hours. They tried to eliminate social workers who identify and address trauma, and cut mentorship programs that provide alternatives to street life. Every dollar recovered supports the ecosystem of community safety that CVLN is working to protect. This brings me to why CVLN's Legal Power Series launch in Baltimore couldn't be more timely. Community violence intervention programs have proven that they can reduce shootings by 30 to 50%. Yet for years, they've operated at the mercy of political winds, vulnerable to political attacks and arbitrary funding cuts. Here in Baltimore, we've seen firsthand the success of programs like Safe Streets. CVLN fills this critical gap by providing the legal infrastructure these life-saving programs need to survive and thrive. Every action has real impact. When we protect a federal grant, we're protecting a violence interrupter's salary. When we block unconstitutional funding conditions, we're ensuring hospital programs can continue breaking cycles of retaliation. The Trump administration's attacks on public safety funding will continue. They've made clear their intention to dismantle the community-based infrastructure that actually prevents violence, replacing evidence-based interventions with failed tough-on-crime rhetoric. But Maryland's experience shows we can win these fights. Through strategic litigation, we've repeatedly blocked illegal funding cuts and protected critical programs. Through partnerships like the one we're celebrating tonight, we can build a legal firearm around these important programs. True public safety comes from communities having the resources to interrupt violence, address trauma, and provide young people with alternatives to the streets. The current administration may not understand this, but we do. And more importantly, the communities most impacted by violence understand it. They are developing solutions that work, and it's our job in the legal community to protect those solutions. Through MEJC, we brought together government, community, and private sector stakeholders to collectively work towards a future where justice is truly equitable for all. CVLN, bringing its Legal Power Series to Baltimore, represents another critical piece of this movement. Together, we will defend the programs that save lives, protect the funding streams that sustain them, and advance the vision of public safety that actually makes our communities safer. Thank you all for your dedication to this vital work. Let's continue to collaborate to create lasting change, and the Office of the Attorney General stands with you. Thank you.